Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be ranking every card from Shrouded Fable now that the set's like actually out and I've played with these cards. Now, I played with them on Pokemon TCG Live. One of the cards has had not necessarily issues with the card, but well, okay, one of the cards does have issues with the card, but one of the cards has issues with the deck, which is Dartrix, which United Wings is the deck it's in, and there's the Ditto, which is very good, which doesn't work, but whatever, that doesn't change my rankings too much. I'm just going to talk about these cards. Let's go in order. For some reason, they are not in order here, so that's kind of weird. Also, it's pretty much all the final evolutions, plus it's also the what I consider to be the important pre-evolutions, of which I think I had two. Of course, one is Dartrix, which I just mentioned, and then the other one is do I have River? Yes, I do. I was like, I forgot that this was in the set. And then the other one is going to be the Dusclops, which is very good, right? But yeah, this is a tier list compared to like every card in the game, right? So I'm not gonna say try to balance the tier list out within these cards. No, if a card's bad, if all the cards are bad, they're all going in F tier. They're not all bad though. Honestly, there's a pretty good mix of cards. So let's just see how this goes though. And I have not played with all these cards, but the first card up is Galvantula. I don't really know. I'm going to talk about these cards in the current metagame, and this card's like not good. It's going to go in F, I guess. Is it F tier? It's pretty bad. It does 130 for 2, and I think it one-shots Charizard, right? It does 50 more to Pokemon than ability, so that's going to be hitting 180, but like no, like who's using this card, right? So this is going to go in F tier, I guess. Yeah, it's not really interesting at all. There was a Galvantula EX coming out, so this card might become interesting, but right now it's pretty bad, right? If Zoroark was around, it might be playable, but Zoroark isn't around, so it's pretty bad. Next we got Dartrix. Dartrix is the United Wings Pokemon, and I mentioned United Wings. Ditto doesn't work, but whatever. I played a little bit of United Wings. I've heard a lot of stuff about United Wings. I think this is a B tier card. It's a little hard to rank. Obviously, it helps United Wings a lot, but also like so is every United Wings Pokemon, and there's some kind of weird stuff going on with this card. But I think B tier is pretty fair. United Wings is, I know it's a fan favorite deck, but let's be honest, it's not that good. It has issues at best, and it might just be really bad or kind of bad because obviously your Pokemon have really low HP. There's a lot of spread around, which we will talk about some with Kyurem and maybe some and Dusclops and Dusknoir, but yeah, it's not the best card, but it's not a bad card or bad deck. Funnily enough, Dartrix it will be surviving rotation in I think 2 years, so it'll be presumably the only United Wings Pokemon in the game, which is kind of funny, but doesn't really matter. Then we have Decidueye itself as well. This one just 170 for 1, but then you discard an energy from your. It does some things. It's pretty bad. I think it's F tier. You never put it in a United Wings deck because it's a stage 2. You're definitely not playing Rare Candy. You might not even play the basic, but even if you do, it's almost impossible to evolve into this. I suppose you could try to like Relicanth copy the stage 1 and like get value with a higher HP United Wings attacker, but also literally all the other, well, no, not all the other ones evolve, but Flamigo doesn't evolve, has solid HP compared to Decidueye. It's 40 less, but it's a basic. And then the other two also both evolve. And also like that's kind of silly, right? Why would you be doing that? Anyways, Honchko has 130 apparently. And then what's the then you got Kilowattrel, which wait, there's an EX which isn't out yet, but yeah, Kilowattrel has 120. It does have free retreat as well on a good few, including the United Wings one, which you could actually play to snipe. So yeah, Dartrix is sorry, not Dartrix. Decidueye is bad, unfortunately. It's a cool Pokemon in my opinion, but it's a bad card. Tapu Bulu 220 for 4, which includes 2 colorless and then 2 grass, and it has 140 HP, 30 to itself, 3 retreat cost. Is this card also F? This might just be like a really, obviously there's a lot of cards in the set that aren't very good. Normally I just cut out most of these cards. I feel like Tapu Bulu has potential. I mean, 220 damage on a single prizer is really good, but also like how are you ever paying this, right? So I don't know how you'd pay this. I mean, okay, it would probably be like you can pay for Regidraco. You can do the same things here, but also like Regidraco V-Star can do absurd amounts of damage and like it can do so much, and also it's not going to just get knocked out every turn. Tapu Bulu will definitely be getting knocked out. It's going to be down to 110 HP if it's not knocked out, and if it's down to less than 30 or 30 or less, then it will knock itself out. So This card's pretty bad, not unplayably bad, and maybe expanded or certainly other formats, but like future formats potentially if we get something like Cherim or even if we got a Baxcalibur for grass, this could see play, but we don't have that. Next, we got ourselves Houndoom. This card's just completely filler. It's really bad. It's F tier. I definitely feel like it's probably the worst of the cards we've seen so far. Next, we have Iron Moth. This one does Anachromism, no, Anachronism Repulsor. There we go. Yeah, I like don't look at this card. So I kind of forgot what his attack name was. If I've ever said it before, I don't know if I have, but for 3 energies, 2 which are fire, 120, and you're immune to damage by ancient Pokemon. That is only damage, obviously. It's not effective attacks, which is potentially a bit of an issue. I bring it up every time. It's probably not that big of an issue, but it's not great. But you could play it. It's D tier. It is playable in certain specific decks for certain specific matchups, but those matchups certainly like are out there. If you're playing Fire and you're worried about Raging Bulldog or Pond, any Roaring Moon deck, the Single Prizer, or the EX, though the EX, it does have an effectiveness attack, but whatever. And then there's, I don't know, there's like Gouging Fire EX, so that's not super common, but is like played occasionally, and it's actually okay. And there's definitely some that I'm forgetting. But I forgot it, so yeah, it doesn't matter now. But yeah, the ancient decks are like they're okay. So walling them, having Ascension auto win against most of those is pretty nice. But let's be honest, like who's playing Firebox? So not super good. Then we have Kingdra EX. This one is definitely one of the ones. Someone asked me to make a video on it. I think I'm going to. I said I would be like look into it. But the deck's kind of bad. It's not like terrible though. It does 50 more for each water energy attached to it, and it does require 2 energies to actually attack, which is kind of annoying. If you could just do it for 1, that would actually be really nice. But you can't. You also have this attack where you get the water Pokemon from your discard onto your bench, which is kind of fun, but also very slow, presumably. So this I'll put in C tier. It's not like unplayably bad or anything like that, but also it's kind of outclassed by Chien-Pao EX. Generally, Chien-Pao EX is a basic Pokemon EX, and it has an ability that's really nice as well. And its damage multiplier is higher, but it has no base damage, so Kingdra EX will generally be hitting more damage, which is very nice, but also the ability on Chien-Pao EX allows you to get the energies easier. Kingdra EX evolves from Seadra, which has its attack Swim Freely, which you can accelerate to with Finneon from Lost Origin, and then you also have your stage 2, so you have higher HP, which is nice, and I think that's actually the most important thing about Kingdra EX, and the reason why it could be good and better than Baxcalibur or Chien-Pao in certain situations is because of its higher HP. It's really much more awkward to get going. If you are using the stage 1, you can't rare candy, so you need to kind of do something weird. Gardevoir EX doesn't rare candy, but 1, it's really, really good. Certainly much better than Kingdra EX, and 2, the stage 1's really good, and 3, it can come back. I guess that's kind of related to the basic, or the stage 1 and stage 2 being good, but yeah, no, Kingdra EX, it's not good for EX, but it's C tier, I think. It is like borderline playable. Certainly if Chien-Pao EX wasn't in the game, this card would see a lot more, probably have a lot more attention on it, I imagine. Then we have Weavile. This one paralyzes and discards energy. This card's not very good, right? It's not like completely terrible or anything like that. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but it's also not good. I'll put it in D tier. It can be used in certain matchups and probably be kind of good, but also like probably not most of the time. Probably most of the time it's bad. You need 2 waters, which is kind of awkward to get on. Not like super awkward, but you're already a stage 1 with low HP. Not super low HP, but not high HP certainly. You will be getting one-shotted if your opponent escapes paralysis, most likely. So yeah, it's not great. Like, what's the point of the deck? Is it to slowly knock stuff out? Like, if you need Baxcalibur, if you need, I don't know. I don't really know how to play the deck. You could just manually attach. You have Power Glass. You have EXP share, so you could rely on those cards, but also that doesn't feel great. So yeah, I'll put Weavile in D tier. No, I'm gonna put it in F tier. Actually, I changed my mind. It's not like complete garbage, but it's pretty bad and pretty niche. Then we have Revavroom EX. I have not played this card. This is one that's kind of interesting. I've not seen anyone. I've seen like less talk about Revavroom EX than Weavile. So it has 2 attacks. The first one, if you swing into the active, you do do 140. Also, you have 280 HP, which is pretty solid. Certainly quite nice for a stage 1 EX. Not the highest by any means, but still good. And so 140 for 1 is quite nice. Then you have this ability, or sorry, this attack that says for 3 metals does 250 and discard this Pokemon, and then the attached cards as well. So it's, I guess, hit and run, but like it's not really hit and run. You lose all the stuff. So it's not like you're running, but you're just going away completely, which isn't great. It's not cheap. It's not easy to pay either. There is Matang. A lot of people like bring up Matang all the time. I mean, like as much as things like Baxcalibur and I don't know, Gardevoir EX or something, but maybe not quite that amount. But I feel like it's a lot, and Matang is not very consistent, especially if you need to like do it over and over and over again and like get multiple energies or even just one energy every turn. That's not going to happen. Room EX is kind of fun though. I'm going to put it in C tier as well, the Kingdra EX, and I'm not probably ordering the tiers. I might end up ordering some of the higher ones, but I feel like Room versus Kingdra EX, I don't really feel like ordering. Then we have Hypno. This one is super weird. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like another card, which I honestly don't remember what the card is. There's a card like this. I think it might be a What? Slackoth is not the basic. Yeah, Slackoth. If they attach energy to the Fang Pokemon, then their turn ends. So this could be useful in certain scenarios, but it's pretty niche. It does damage, which isn't necessarily like bad, but also like this isn't like a pure control card. It's not some like powerful attacker. It's pretty niche. It's pretty weird and pretty bad as well. Next, we have the Dusclops and Dusknoir. I'm actually not sure where I'm going to rank these. Obviously, they're very good. Are they S tier caliber cards? Is either one S tier? Are they? Which one's better? Honestly, I'm not sure. They have the same ability, same name, and similar effects. Cursed Blast. You place a bunch of damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. You cannot split them up, which makes them worse. I think most people know that, but a few people are confused about that. And then this Pokemon is knocked out. So this can be used to like do Lost Zone stuff, specifically with the Dusclops, and can also be used to like aggressively push for Blood Moon Ursaluna EX and I guess things like that. But the big one's Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, but also that's like kind of bad. So I'm not really going to take that into consideration too much. I mean, if you're playing Blood Moon Ursaluna EX is not a bad idea, but if that's your like whole deck, that is a bad idea. But so Curse Blast on Dusclops places 5 damage counters, and Dusknoir places 13. I think Dusknoir is. I think they're both pretty good. I'm not sure which. I think Dusclops is probably better. It's a stage 1, so it's obviously much easier, but then obviously less damage as well. I'm gonna put them both in A tier. I'm not sure if this is a hot take that they're not S tier. I think this isn't too much of a hot take. They're definitely a lot of better cards than them. They are seeing a lot of play and are kind of warping the game a little. I feel like it feels like they're warping the game a lot more though than they actually are. Like Teal Mask Ogerpon EX warped the game. I don't know if I'd say warped the game, but paired with Raging Bull EX, that deck saw so much play and really changed things a lot. Dusclops and Dusknoir certainly are seeing play, but they're not like seeing play all over the place. I don't know. They are seeing a lot of play. But I'm going to leave them at A tier. I feel like they're good, but they can impact games a lot, but they're not the main attackers, not the main focus of really any deck in the game. And Will Charizard DX is very, very good right now. I think, it's not because of these. It's these help, and these are elevating it to that level. But Charizard DX is really good. Dragapult EX, which these have seen some play with, is also really good. So I'm going to leave them in A tier, but they're very good cards. Next, we got Cresselia, and then we got Sylveon as well. Not too much to say about these. Sylveon is a pretty clear F tier Pokemon. Nothing really too interesting going here. There's some like mildly interesting stuff where you can like disrupt your opponent, but it's not a coin flip, and it's also not that good. And then we have Cresselia here, which can do 160 for 3, which is not bad. But it's not like that good either. And you can like you flip a prize card face up, a face down prize card face up. So that's a thing. I don't actually know if that's that good. It's like kind of good, but it's not that good. It does turn off a soon heavy ball. It does some kind of weird things, but I'm gonna put it in F tier as well. I'll put it at the top of F tier because I guess I'm ordering it. Not really, but it's better than these other ones. I guess it's still pretty bad though. pretty niche and it's outclassed by things as well. Next, we got Toxic Croak. We got the fighting Pokemon. So Toxic Croak, it just filler. Can one-shot certain Pokemon, but it's kind of like, it's very similar to Galvantula. And so, if we had Zoroark, it could see play. We don't have Zoroark, though. And how much does Hisuian Arcanine do? Um, I want to check. I actually don't know. Okay, so this actually does more damage than Hisuian Arcanine. Well, it does the same amount of damage, but then Hisuian Arcanine does. Well, okay, this does 180. Hisuian Arcanine does 160 plus burn, which equates to the same amount of damage. It's of course slightly different. The one, you'll do extra weakness damage with Toxic Croak, extra potentially burn damage with Hisuian Arcanine, but whatever. Hisuian Arcanine does have more HP as well. And actually a higher retreat cost, but it's only 2. So whatever, that doesn't really matter. Hisuian Arcanine isn't standard. I guess it has to be because it's a Hisuian Pokemon. But then Zoroark is not. Right? Hisuian Arcanine saw play, not that much play with Zoroark, but it was one of the better Zoroark attackers. But anyway, that's not here. Then we have Blood Moon Saluna. I've heard a lot of talk about this. I've not actually seen it at all. I've seen people I've seen videos on it and a little bit of talk about it, but not that much, not that many videos either. I think this card is kind of bad. I mean, it's going to go in the C tier. Accelerates energy to itself on play and has an attack that does mediocre base damage with more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active. But it's really awkward. The fact that you can't use Nest Ball with this to get an actual value out of it makes it much worse. It's really hard in my experience. I made a couple of decks with this just really quickly to test stuff out, and it's really hard to actually get stuff going because you need lots of pieces and things to go the right way, and you can kind of get those, but it's really sketchy. Then we got Slyther Wing, but it's not bad though. When it works, it's potentially pretty good. Then we have Slyther Wing with its attack Iron Smasher. If your opponent's active, or if your opponent has any future Pokemon in play, it does 140 for 2, which actually just is pretty good against a lot of things, and it has 140 HP. But then, of course, it is fighting, so it is hitting weakness on Lightning Pokemon, which there are a few future Lightning Pokemon, the most notable of which is Iron Hands EX, though Iron Thorns EX certainly sees a good chunk of play and is arguably in I did a tier list. I think it's coming out. I think it already came out, and I said that the best ladder deck is Iron Thorns EX, so this will beat that probably, hopefully. If you're losing with Slyther Wing, that is not a good sign. But this is going to go into the C tier. I feel like it's still not, C tier is okay. If the best cards in the set are from the C tier, that's really bad. B tier is is playable. C tier is you could play it, I guess. Not great. Certainly, you're struggling some if you're trying to play this on the ladder and win. You're probably going to win less than 40% of your games if I had to guess with these cards, but they're not that bad. B tier is you could definitely play these and definitely have solid amounts of I guess I'd say success, but they're certainly not the best cards either. Then we have Crobat. This card's so bad. I actually got a memed by a Crobat deck on the ladder the other day, but this card's not very good. It has an attack which is pretty trash, but it has an ability that says you can draw till you have 8 cards in hand. But if you played Janine's Secret Art, which is a supporter, which is it's a solid supporter, but Crobat's a stage 2 with this ability that only works after you played a certain card, which is hard to find, not impossible to find or anything, but kind of hard to find. It's F. No, is it F tier? I'll put it in D tier. No, is it D tier? I feel like I should put in D tier because I lost to it on the ladder, but I'm going to put in F tier. I don't think it's very good. And the reason I lost to it, honestly, wasn't really due to this Crobat either. My opponent had, I think, another engine, and they had the other Crobat, which took extra prizes. I think I was playing Gardevoir. I might have not been playing Gardevoir, actually. I think I was, though, and it definitely, is kind of made to beat Gardevoir, the deck I was against. Anyway, we got Absol. Believe it or not, this is actually an interesting Pokemon. It does 70 if you have at least 3 Darkness Energy in play, though. So if you have 3 Darkness in play, it does 70. It's kind of like the Sandy Shocks played in Regional Ogre Pond, but it's a little bit worse. Right, I think. I don't remember how much that does. I think it does 90. Yeah, no, it does do 90. It's a pretty similar concept, but a little bit different. But yeah, so it's going to go in D tier. I think it is playable. I've been playing with the Dark Box EX deck, the one with the Pekron EX box deck, right, with Okidogi EX, Munkidori EX, and Pheasantipta EX. And I don't think I put Absol in, but Absol is playable. it's certainly not. It's certainly a solid Pokemon. I feel like there's a lot of different attackers that I've actually been considering in that deck, although I haven't been playing it that much. I actually haven't played that much Pokemon TCG in these past few days because I've been working on my big 1,000 subscriber special, which, by the way, I released it. You should check it out. But oh, and while I'm self-promoting, join the channel, subscribe. And anyway, so Absol is okay, but pretty niche. Then we have Zorag. This one I have not played. It's actually pretty interesting with illusory. Illusory. I don't know how to spell that or to say that word. Illusory hijacking for 2 colors, 60 feature points, Pokemon EX and V in play. Kind of interesting. I kind of want to play it, but it's pretty niche as well. Its HP is pretty mediocre to kind of bad. It's not that bad, but it's certainly not like good either. But you have mediocre damage output. There are times when it might be really good, though. I don't know. It's a card I need to look into and seems kind of interesting, but not really sure exactly how to play it. But it's not bad. I'm kind of like hyping it up. I'm going to put it in D tier, though. It's certainly not great that it has use cases. I think people don't really know this card exists, so it has use cases. Then we have Malamar. This card, I believe, doesn't work at all in Pokemon TCG Live. I was messing around with it. I saw a report on the forum. Someone's like, this card doesn't work. And it doesn't. It just doesn't do anything, I'm pretty sure. But it says switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active. If you do, it does 120 to the new active, but you can only use this if you played 06 Machinations from your hand during your turn. So 06 Machinations is an interesting supporter. It has some really unique things going for it, but the big thing is when specifically dealing with Malamar, your opponent needs at least 4 cards in hand, which most of the time they don't have. So 06 Machinations is a control supporter. We'll get to it, but you literally can't play this card most of the time. So if you can't play the card, you can't use the attack. Even ignoring the fact that you literally can't use it ever because Live just, I don't know, probably has like the card under the wrong name or something. But this is Rosix card. But anyways, Malamar is super niche. Potentially it is good if you can actually do it, but it's so hard to use because your opponent needs a good few cards in their hand. They need 4, and a lot of times I think I was playing against the AI to test. I think I played a game on ladder and it was really bad. They played against a game against the AI to test, and I wasn't able to use this attack all game, which was really bad. If you played against the AI, you know it's really bad, but yeah, I believe they decked themselves out at the end. But it's certainly kind of sketchy. When I mean kind of sketchy, it's pretty bad. I'm gonna put it in D tier, I guess, because it's kind of funny. Is it D tier? No, it's F tier. It's really bad. It's funny, and potentially if it works, you could just destroy your opponent, but that's unlikely. When I say destroy, you get a turn 1 snipe and disrupt their hand a little bit, but it's kind of niche. Next we have the Yveltal. This one I played against. I think I got messed up by this one too. But Corrosive Winds is the interesting attack. The Destructive Beam is not a bad attack, but Corrosive Winds put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not actually sure if I lost the game against this deck. I think it was really close. But you obviously get to spread a decent amount of damage, but your opponent's Pokemon need damage on them already. This card it's okay. It's it's a pretty mediocre spread. Pokemon, we've seen cards like Spinda, Reshiram. I think a lot of people compare this to a Serum Braviary, which it's kind of similar to. And I imagine some of you are just what are any of those Pokemon? But yeah, so it's not great, but it's not bad. I'm gonna put it in C tier as well. I feel like it's arguably the best spread attacker right now the best doing the pure spread, dealing equal damage to all the other Pokemon attackers. You compare this with Frostlass and probably Radiant Alakazam. You want to toss that in there because you really want damage counters on all your opponent's Pokemon. With that, you'll be able to be in a pretty good spot. I feel like you can spread a bunch, and also it is Darkness Energy, which is quite nice because Monkey Dory, which still is bugged. I don't know the actual bug, if it's a bug with Monkey Dory or a bug with Live, but there's a bug. But Yveltal can work very well with Monkey Dory because it's the same energy type, and hopefully you're not getting knocked out every turn. And if you're not, then you have a turn to attach to Monkey Dory and get in a really good position, or attach to Yveltal, depending how you're doing it. But yeah, I think it's okay. It's one I will probably try. Next, we got the trio, the Monkey Dogi trio. We got Okidoki EX, which does 260 if it's poisoned for 3. Monkey Dory EX, which does 190. And then a single prizer, essentially, if it's knocked out by damage. if you have Pekka EX in play. Pekka EX has this ability letting you switch a Darkness Pokemon from the bench to the active and poison that Pokemon, and it has an attack, but I've never actually seen it used. It is usable, but it's okay, but I've never used it. Then we have Pheasantipty EX with its ability to draw 3 cards if one of your Pokemon is knocked out last turn, and you can do 100 snipe for 3 colorless. I'm going to start things off easy with Pheasantipty EX. It's an S tier. I've talked about this card in the past. I hope you weren't expecting me to talk about it a lot today. It's very good. It's definitely the second best card in the set, pretty clearly in my opinion. Then we have Okidogi EX, which is going to go in. I'm not actually sure. I was thinking about these. I'm not entirely sure. Pokemon EX though, this is a card that's really surprised me. We'll talk about Binding Mochi later, but Binding Mochi is pretty good with Pokemon EX, and I've been really surprised by it. I've been really impressed by it. I'm actually going to put it in S tier. I think it's better than Dusclops and Dustor. I guess it's very good. No, I'll drop down to A tier. I'm not entirely sure if it's S or A tier, but it allows you to essentially auto win Snorlax, which is a solid deck right now, and Mawile and Western Massive Group on EX, assuming they're trapping. And then it allows you to switch as much as you want, or not as much as you want, but switch a bunch, allowing you to use certain pivots, and it's synergized with Palafin EX and in other decks as well. Tatsugiri, I think, is a Pokemon that's been able to use it quite nicely. It allows you to play certain other Pokemon or get away with certain things in Roaring Moon EX, Roaring Moon, not so great with Roaring Moon EX, but you can use it. Dark Patch, so leverage to the bench, you can use Dark Patch and then Pokemon EX, so you can keep your Pokemon on the bench till the last minute, so you can guarantee Dark Patch and actually get it on the right Pokemon. And then it also, of course, is very necessary for the what I describe as the Pokemon EX box deck, which obviously it stands for that. So, and the Binding Mochi thing as well, which you could use with Charizard EX and Single Prize Roaring Moon, and any Darkness Pokemon, right? So I'm going to put in A tier. I think it's really surprised me. I thought it was a mediocre Pokemon, but it's actually really good. A tier is certainly a very strong card. Pokemon EX definitely is there. Munkidora EX and Okidogi EX. I think Munkidora EX and Okidogi EX are in the same tier. I think they're pretty similar in value. Notably, Munkidora EX with 40 extra damage, which would be, of course, from Binding Mochi, which is not that hard to do, is enough to one-shot pretty much every basic Pokemon in the game. Not every basic Pokemon, but most of them. Okidogi EX is going to one-shot things, but even with Binding Mochi, it's not one-shotting things like Charizard EX or Dragapult EX. Gurdurr EX you will one-shot with weakness. You don't need the tool, but then you can also do Munkidora EX, and also Okidogi EX is it's kind of tanky, but it's not that tanky because you're poisoning yourself, so you're going to be down to lower HP. Speaking of the poisoning yourself, Munkidora EX, you can definitely get knocked out by poison, which will not only not trigger Pheasantipty EX and allow that to work, but it will not trigger Oh No You Don't, which is the ability on Munkidora EX here. This is you're essentially a 1 prizer. No, now you're a 2 prizer. If you get knocked out by poison, which is really bad, or it's at least not good, but I think that's not super common. I'm gonna put both of these in A tier. Yeah, no, I changed my Pokemon EX going back into S tier. It's super good. I'm gonna order these tiers, S and A. So and maybe B. We'll see what else ends up in that tier, but yeah, I think they're definitely viable decks. I mean, not super good. I think they're top 20 decks. I think they're debatably top 10 decks. Obviously, people haven't played them that much and haven't played against them that much, so they don't know that much about the decks. But they do have solid potential. I feel like it's a bit more. I describe the deck as a bit more well-rounded than Raging Bull Ogerpon, but generally pretty similar in feel to that deck. If you're looking for a ladder grinding deck, don't play this. Play Raging Bull Ogerpon. But if you're looking at a deck that is has a bit more nuance to it and a bit more can actually beat single prizers, then play this deck, because Munkidora EX allows you to actually beat single prizers. Sometimes, not always, you can have issues, but can certainly help you there. And then it also allows you to you don't discard your energy every time you attack. You have easy switching, so you have a better late game, worse early game though, because you're less consistent there. Because Janine's secret technique it's not Professor Saw's Vitality. It's close, honestly. No drawing, but you do get the energy from the deck, and it's a little different, but It's it's a deck. I definitely think it is a deck that is like it's an okay deck. I was considering putting it on my top 10. I kind of wanted to. I think there are like 15 or so decks that are viable right now, that are like pretty, you can definitely play and definitely compete with most decks in the game. But yeah, I definitely think they're worse than Dusknoir and Dusclops, but I know they get some massive gap. I think Pekrunt EX is definitely better than Dusknoir and Dusclops. I mean, it's kind of weird to say because it doesn't feel like it's just like this game-changing card in the way that Dusknoir Dusclops can be, but Pekrunt EX is so versatile. It's a card I've been so impressed by. Thought it was gonna be like super mid, and it's pretty insane. Um, then we have Genesect. It turns off Ace specs, or your opponent can't play Ace specs if there's a tool attached. I have not really played against this card. I don't think. I don't really know much about it, to be honest. I mean, I know what it does. I don't know if it's good or bad, or if it's like worth playing. Obviously, you need tools, but lots of decks play tools. You need bench space, but lots of decks have bench space. Not like a ton, but you can usually fit things in. If you really want this Genesect, you could probably do it. And obviously, it only really impacts probably one turn of the whole game, right? So it's not a card, and that's not all the time either. There are games it's just completely useless, and you don't know when it's going to be useful. You don't really know what aspect your opponent's playing, and ideally with this card, it doesn't matter. But they could also like knock it out, which isn't like that big of a deal. It's not super weak as a basic. It's 40 more HP than something like a Manaphy, which people do gust knock out, but can't always. I mean, they can usually knock it out, but it's not getting sniped by Dragapult, probably not as much as like Manaphy or certainly a 60 HP Pokemon. Um, so it's an interesting card. Some of the best ace specs. Obviously, Prime Catcher is very good, and Unfair Stamp, those are very good. You just kind of play them. This will stop those, which is really nice. Your opponent could Lost Vacuum, and then if they bypass it once, again, it doesn't matter. It only impacts one turn. They can bypass it, then it doesn't matter much. If they do have to use Lost Vacuum, then that's the lost vacuum they're not using somewhere else, and is forcing them to lost on a card, which honestly probably isn't bad. It's probably good, but it might be bad, So it's okay. I'll put it in C tier. It's really different than pretty much every card. Honestly, it's really different than most other cards in the entire game. It's this tech card that has mediocre value across the board, unlike a tech card like Manaphy or even Jirachi, or even Kira, which we'll get to, which are like insane in some matchups. They're okay in some matchups, and then some matchups they're just useless. Genesect is there are a few matchups where it's really bad and are kind of useless, but most of the time it's like okay, has minor value. It's pretty non-committal. It's not like that big of an issue. You could rescue board and get free retreat, so it's like it's not that bad to have in play, but it's this really tame tech card, which is so weird, but I think it's okay. I've not played with it or against it though, so I'm not entirely sure. Copperaja, I don't. What's this do? Oh, it's substituting. Yeah, this card's kind of bad. You can do this like funny combo with Neutralization Zone, but it's kind of bad. This card is not good. It's F tier. It's not like the worst card. I'll just plop it somewhere in the middle here. And then we have um, okay, we got Haxorus. Let me cure him. Haxorus is pretty interesting. This is a standard tier list, by the way. Haxorus here says bring down the axe. If your opponent has any active has any special energy, it's instantly knocked out. And then Dragon Pulse for 2, you do 230. 2, it is a fighting and a metal. You just go the top 3 because of your own deck as well. This is very usable in Dragapult, or sorry, not Dragapult, in Regidrago V-Star, which is a top 4 deck right now. I think a lot of people have it at 2 or 3 in rankings. I feel like that's pretty common. I think I have it at 3 on my rankings. It's quite good. Regidrago, but is Haxorus good in the deck? It's okay. I'm gonna put this in B tier. Obviously on its own, it's not great. It's not terrible. It's like usable, but it's sketchy, right? It's a stage 2 energy cost is like kind of weird, and it's certainly not always useful. I mean, Dragon Pulse is a pretty good attack, and HP is pretty solid, and no weakness as well is nice. So we might even see this deck as like its own deck, or a closed Shrouded Fable. But there is a Fracture as well, which can't be essentially gusted up, which is kind of fun, but also kind of niche. Then we have Kyurem. Kyurem is really interesting. I thought, if I was making this earlier, I would have said easy S tier. I think I've changed my mind on that. It's really weird. It says if your opponent has any cards in their discard with colorless in their name, this Pokemon's Trifrost attack. The attack can be used for only one colorless. And that attack says you discard all energy from this Pokemon and it does 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. That attack is insane, but obviously really expensive. You're never paying it in like a normal deck, like ever. It's essentially impossible. Not impossible, maybe in Hisuian Goodra V-Star Lost Zone, but like even that, it's still a massive commitment, and it's really hard to pay. But Trifrost is like, it's good, and then of course it's played in Regidrago V-Star as well. So it's either this like counter card, which isn't just a counter to Lost Zone, it's mostly, but then people aren't playing Lost Zone very much right now. I think Kyurem has scared people away from Lost Zone, which is kind of interesting, but not like entirely. And Lost Zone's not bad, but if your opponent's, if no, Kyurem beats Lost Zone. Like, yes, Lost Zone can beat Kyurem if they got like Manaphy. Yeah, then they can like guest up Manaphy, so you could be like, oh, double Manaphy and like canceling Cologne, and there's all this weird stuff going on here. But Kyurem's really, really, really good against Lost Zone. It's not like an auto win, but it's very good. But then Trifrost, you can comp with Regidrago V-Star and really mess up your opponent. Also, if your opponent's playing Colossus Tenacity, I would recommend not playing Colossus Tenacity. I played some Iron Thorn GX, in my opinion, best ladder deck, and I think I said that earlier, but it's really good for ladder, and I know people play. Uncommon Fossil made a video on it, I think. I don't know if he did, but he certainly played and talked about his list to me some. So you play Colossus Tenacity, that's kind of common, but then you're setting yourself up to get damaged by Kyurem, which is kind of sketchy. It's not like the end of the world, but it's not great either. It's definitely bad if you're getting attacked by Kyurem. So, yeah, I wouldn't play Colossus Tenacity. Just really in any deck. Colossus Tenacity is certainly it's an okay card. It's like a mediocre supporter, which we'll get to, but you're setting yourself up to be damaged by Kyurem, which is very sketchy. So I'm gonna put it in A tier, near the bottom of A tier. No, actually, no. No, it's near the top of A tier. You can definitely drop it into play as well. If you're playing Regidrago, you can play it if your opponent is playing Colossus cards, and then it's insane. It's the best stacker in the game, like by far. Even if your opponent has Manaphy, it's still a good attacker. It's 110 for 1. You discard it, and you have 130 HP, no weakness on a single prizer. 130 HP. I mean, it's not going to be like living like everything, but it's going to be living some things that, Cramorant gets like messed up by a lot of things. Kyurem might survive hits here and there. It does have 2 retreat, which isn't great, but Kyurem, even if your opponent has Manaphy, it's not like a good attacker, but it's an acceptable attacker. Then we have some colorless Pokemon. I think they're all bad. I think you got Persian, Furfrou, and Beware. They're all bad. So yeah, let's just put them into F tier because they're kind of bad. And next we got the trainers now. So I'm just gonna go. Let's start with the ace specs. So we got what's it called? The laser card. This is Dangerous Laser. Yeah, Dangerous Laser, which burns and confuses. It's kind of bad. I'm gonna put it in actually D tier. I think it is technically playable in like some decks and has like some value, but also like it's bad for an ace spec. Then we have Pok Vital A, which heals 150, can't be recovered, which not being able to be recovered is like a little unfortunate, but doesn't really matter. This is gonna go in. Is it C? I feel like it needs to go above Dangerous Laser. And I feel like all these specs are playable, but it's not great, pretty niche. But I'll put it in C tier. I'm sure there's some case where it can definitely come in clutch and win you the game. I feel like Dangerous Laser is pretty bad, like in almost every scenario, but it is free damage, like essentially. So I'm sure there's some game where like it could win you the game, but it's very niche. And then we have Neutralization Zone, which essentially turns all your single prices into Mimikyu, which says they can't be damaged by attacks from EXs and Vs. This is really interesting. There's just so much stuff to say about this card that I've really said a lot of it before, where you need to understand your opponent's deck and your deck, of course, and kind of bait your opponent into certain plays, and they need to like play well, and it can like cause weird mind games and stuff. I'm gonna put it in B tier. No, that's not the right card. Neutralization Zone here in B tier. Obviously, it's an A spec, so it is better than a regular card, but it's really, really hard to use. But if you do get it stuck into play, then you essentially win the game. It's not quite that simple, but it's pretty close. So Neutralization Zone, pretty interesting. You can play in Gardevoir as well, which makes it scary. You can play it in Gardevoir or Ancient Box or any single prize deck with single prize attackers. You can put it in Lost Zone, though. Probably don't put it in Lost Zone because he get Lost Zone, which is not good. But I mean, any card can get Lost Zone in Lost Zone, but you know, um, this isn't great. Not all your attackers are single visors, and I don't know. I don't know if it's actually that bad in Lost Zone, but it has use cases. It's kind of cool. Next, we got ourselves. Let's just talk about the stadium first, because we were just talking about Stadium Academy at night. This card's going to be kind of fun coming up. Right now, though, it's kind of mediocre. Once during each player's turn, they can put a card from their hand on top of their deck. I'm actually going to put this in. No, I'll put it in C tier right now. I feel like its use cases are pretty niche. I mean, it's not terribly niche. You can use it in Miraidon for decent value, or for actually really solid value. And same thing with the Dialga Matang. You can put energy on top of your deck and be able to accelerate those energies, which is nice. It's kind of like Safe Maniac's code breaking. It's a little different because it's not like you're searching your deck for cards that then you get, but these are cards that are in your hand, but you can guarantee do something with. But it also does help out every deck a little bit, depending on circumstances. And so that's not great for a stadium. You want your stadium to help you out and not your opponent, and this doesn't do that. It definitely helps out your opponent some. So that's a bit of a downside. I think it will become pretty interesting and arguably pretty good coming up soon, but I don't know exactly how good it'll be. It definitely has use cases, and some of the use cases are really funny, including like Cassiopeia, which we'll talk about. Still, I think C tier is fine. And also, sorry, I'm feeling yet again, or still, just like always, a little under the weather. That's why I keep pausing, because I am feeling a little bad. But next we got Bimomi, the tool, and I'll talk about Power Glass as well. Favorite card name probably ever. I mean, most of them are just like boring, right? It's just the Pokemon, or it's like a trainer plus like some word, or like long words. Sometimes Pokemon has like weird translations. But Bimomi, we'll talk about this with Pekkaron. Attacks used by the poison Pokemon this card's attached to do 40 more to your points active. This I'm going to put in A tier. This is probably a hot take, but it's really like 40 extra damage. And this part is not a hot take. 40 extra damage for free is really good. It's not free, but with Pekkaron EX, it's pretty close. And it's really nice. It's really good with the Ancient Box. We can control your damage output. Obviously, Ancient Box really wants ancient cards, and this is not an ancient card, but it's still fine. Also, poison yourself, obviously generally not good, but you can turn that off with Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. You, of course, can't attach multiple tools, but you can, depending on the attacker, do different things with the poison. You can either do more damage or just have more HP. And so that's pretty cool. I think Bimomi is really good. You can play in Charizard EX, which is cool. I actually don't know how good that is. I don't really think I've seen that very much, but still seems pretty good. And I think Pekkaron EX, Bimomi, Charizard EX could be real. Like the World Championships are obviously coming up very soon. If you're paying attention to competitive Pokemon, you know that. And I know like some people don't really care. I honestly don't care that much, but I definitely think that Charizard EX with Pekkaron EX Bimomi could be a sleeper pick to do really, really well. Most people are focusing on Dusknoir, but Bimomi with Pekkaron EX is a very solid combo. Charizard EX often struggles in the early game, really wants 40 more damage, and this is 40 more damage. Might want 50, so might not be quite enough all the time, but it's still pretty good. Then we have Power Glass, which says if it's like the Pokemon it's attached to is in the active after attacking, accelerate an energy from your disco pile to it. This is kind of weird and wonky. I'm gonna just put it in C tier. I don't really know what to say about this card, to be honest. It's acceleration. It's a tool. It's after your attack, which is pretty much exactly what the card says. But it's okay. It's kind of funny, but yeah, I don't really know. It's okay. I'm actually gonna move. No, Pok Vital A is usable. It definitely feels like it has to be above Dangerous Laser, so I'll keep it here. But Power Glass is Power Glass is kind of interesting. I'd be shocked if it never sees any play. It might end up being really good, but I think it's pretty mediocre right now to pretty underwhelming as well. Then we have Night Stretcher, which I'll talk about. Put a Pokemon or a basic energy from your discard into your hand. It's S tier. It's the best card in the set. It's really boring, but it's really good. It's a staple. So he's playing not every deck, but a lot of decks. I think it's better than Super Rod. Of course, it does depend on what deck you're playing, and if you want cards in your deck, then it's not better than Super Rod. And if you can search them out essentially for free, it's also not. But I think Night Stretcher is really nice. Snorlax plays Night Stretcher because It doesn't need extra Pokemon recovery, and a lot of decks are pretty much in a similar boat to that. Night Stretcher, I mean, it's clear S tier. Then we have these supporters. We have 4 supporters. We have Cassiopeia, Colossus Tenacity, Janine Secret Technique, and Xerxes Machinations. Each supporter is more interesting than the last, maybe. They're all pretty interesting. Cassiopeia, you can release this if it's the last, aka only card in your hand. Search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. The big issue is, like, how do you use this? There are ways to power it to essentially like use this, but its upside is it's just okay. It's not bad by any means, but the upside is very good, but not like insanely good. We've seen like the mustards and the like Archies and Maxies cards like this, which had really high upside, but were really hard to use still. And they were like okay. Archies and Maxies were very good, and mustards were pretty mediocre. But this is definitely kind of bad. This is definitely worse than the mustard. So I'm gonna put it in honestly D tier. I feel like its use cases are like so minimal. It's a really fun card, and it's a card that I wish was good. I really like getting to this no cards in hand thing, but also the benefit is like it's not non-existent by any means. It's okay. Certainly a card that you could like have fun with and get value out of from time to time, but it's not reliable at all. And it's like okay when it works. I mean, just play Save for Me Next Code Breaking Radiant Ninja or something like that, though. That seems better. Next up, Colossus Tenacity. Search deck for a Stadium and Energy Reveal and put them into your hand. This can get a special energy as well, which is really the big upside. Getting a Stadium is nice, but getting any energy is really good. I'm going to put this card in C tier, though. It's not an insane supporter by any means. Notably, it's like kind of good, but also actually no, it'll be at the top of the C tier, right below Knight Academy, and I'll put it below Kingdom 2. But it also allows it to be targeted by Kyurem, which is not good. It's not the end of the world by any means if you get targeted by Kyurem, but it's not great. Also, this card is good in other formats, but it's not good in standard. It's not bad in standard. It's an okay supporter, probably like the mediocre tier of supporters, which is why it is in C tier, but normally a mediocre supporter would be in B tier, but because this allows you to get to open up to a card that is actually, I believe Richard Draco V-Star is the most played deck in the game right now, and it plays Kyurem, which will be really bad no matter pretty much whatever you're playing. Don't open up yourself to that. It definitely drops it down a tier, maybe like half a tier, but it's not that good anyways. Its use cases are like okay. Then Janine's Secret Art, choose 2 your Darkness Pokemon and attach a basic Darkness from your deck to those Pokemon. And then if you attach to the active, it's poisoned. This like enables the poison thing doesn't really matter because you're probably just going to pack Run EX anyways. It's certainly an okay supporter. I'm just going to pop it into. I'll put it into B tier. It's pretty good. It's like kind of like Professor Saw's Vitality. That's probably an S tier card. This is not that, but it is a pretty solid card right now, allowing you to accelerate obviously energies. That's always good from the deck. Is probably good late game. It's you definitely rattle the discard, but whatever, it's fine. And then it also lets you, it poisons you, which could be nice for Binding Mochi, but whatever. I think it's solid. Then lastly, we have 06 Machinations. Your opponent discards cards from the hand until they have 3 in hand. I'm going to put this one in B tier as well. It's a disruptive supporter. I don't think it's that good. In the next expansion, I think it's going to be, with Stellar Crown, that's the next expansion, it's going to be, I think it's going to be kind of broken, honestly. I think it could get banned. It probably won't get banned. People are seeming to think that that's like, it's pretty mediocre. Like I haven't heard much talk about it, and I've heard a little bit, but like it seems like absurdly good because it gets rid of your opponent's entire hand. The card I'm talking about, if you don't know, is the let's see, Stellar Miracle. It's the Salazzle, and that's not in English. Your opponent chooses and discards 1 card from the hand, but if you evolve from Solandit, aka probably the turn you're playing it, which is the first turn you're actually attacking, they discard 2 more cards from their hand, aka 3. So you play 06 Machinations, so they get rid of cards until they have 3 in hand, and then you Salazzle, and then they lose their whole hand. By the way, there was a card called Amoonguss, which counters 06 Machinations. It came out in Silver Tempest. It essentially only counters 06 Machinations. I mean, it also counters Hand Trimmer, but like who's here playing Hand Trimmer, and Hand Trimmer is like kind of, it's not bad. It's kind of bad. It's not great, but it's weird. It's just probably the most bizarre card in the game. I think at the time of it coming out, it was essentially impossible to trigger. Like it wouldn't. I mean, it wasn't impossible, but in terms of the cards people actually played, it was like actually impossible. It was a counter to just like the most random cards in the game. So yeah, it was terrible, but now it might actually be interesting. But it like counters it by punishing the opponent. So you'll have to discard your hand if you play Zero Six Machination. They have Amoonguss, but whatever. It's weird. But then Salazzle, discarding their entire hand is really good. And you do discard one card even if you didn't Zero Six Machinations. So you just quick roast every turn for the rest of the game, and they literally they'll just draw the card and hopefully not play. There are ways to control their top deck, and then you quick roast again, and then that you do this the entire game. Of course, eventually they will have to draw some card that will help them. It's really hard to kind of force those cards into the discard. It is possible. You can use Porygon from Lost Origin, I think, which I think I told the story before. So I'm trying to say like this card wasn't a real card. Here we go. This is there we go. Look at the top 4 cards of each player's deck and put them on top in any order. There might be other cards like this. There's Gotharita. Is that the Pokemon? Gothitelle. There we go. Which does something kind of similar. It's a little different, but will not allow you to mill stuff really, but will allow you to do some things that are kind of interesting. But Zero Six Machinations plus the Salazzle, I think it's like super broken because it literally just gets rid of their whole hand. It's only 2 colorless, which is not that hard to play. And yeah, and of course we have double turbo. Once double turbo rotates, it might be bad, but whatever. Salazzle kind of broken in my opinion, but it's not out yet. So Zero Six Machinations gonna go in B tier. I think its uses in regular control are mediocre. It can be used to punish opponents and specifically attack for control and the mirror match, or like any control based deck. It's pretty good against all those. And it is good if you are playing those decks to kind of prevent your opponent from Ionoing to extend the game. This could allow them to win. This is specifically useful in tournaments where there's a timer on each player. It is technically useful in the chess timer format that is live, which in my opinion is better as well. I feel like tournaments should, chess timers are kind of nice because they allow you to slow playing wouldn't be a thing. Well, then it gets complicated because in online tournaments they don't actually use the chess timers. Anyways, but Zero Six Machinations is a mediocre card. It's certainly solid though. And if used well, could be good. I think Aries better. There are other cards like it, but it's solid. But anyways, this is my Shrouded Fable tier list. Tell me if you've played any of these cards in F tier, honestly, and you've been like, oh, that's good. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, and joining the channel. But I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.